What's going on, everybody? Coach Stefan here. I'm here with Lauren. Just for some context, do you mind introducing yourself? Just your name, your age, what you do for work, so people have some background, and then we'll dive right in.
Sure. I'm Lauren. I'm 40 years old and I'm a university police chief.
Awesome, cool. So, Lauren, how long have you been in the program, and what is the number one thing that interested you in joining in the first place?
I've been with the program since about mid-January, and what caught my attention straight away was mostly the community involvement as it relates to first responders. That really caught my eye. I don't see a lot of that.
Yeah,
That's what drew me in straight away.
yeah. So when you came to us too, so we're recording it in the beginning of May, so it's been 5 months.
Mhm.
5 months in, what are some things you've seen, like progress in your performance or your physique? Like, kind of walk us through that, and then maybe what your big goal was when you joined.
Sure. So the big reason why I joined was for somebody to keep me on track with my eating, with my nutrition. That was a big deal for me. I've always been very self-motivated when it came to working out. But the nutrition piece is something that I don't quite understand myself. So in these 5 months, working with Coach Mike, I've noticed complete changes in my muscle mass on my body, where everything is starting to look more defined. I'm not hungry, which is really good.
Good.
And I'm starting to notice some changes in my biomechanics as well. We're working on my posture, and it's been great.
Yeah. And then before we were recording, you were saying, you also part of it was you're getting married soon, right? And you're
Yeah.
like, hey, I want to get in as best shape I can, but I don't want to
Yep.
completely change my body because I have a dress fitting.
Right.
And walk us through that process because obviously not a super easy thing to do. Like if you lose too much weight or you gain too much muscle or your shoulders get too big, like you did say you become more defined. How was that process working with your coach, making sure obviously you still fit in your dress while making
Yeah.
progress?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. So I bought my dress a really long time ago. It was about just over a year ago. And since the time I had bought the dress and the dress was made, I've lost 20 pounds. So when I started working with Coach Mike, I told him that I can't actually lose any more weight until my wedding because I would need an entirely new dress. Um, and so I don't know whatever wizardry he's used, but he has kept me within like a 3 to 5 pound range, up a couple pounds down for 5 months, which has been for me absolutely wild. But at the same time, I'm not having any, big weight losses or big weight gains. But when I look in the mirror, my shoulders are more defined, my back is more defined, my quads are more defined, and just overall my physique makes me really happy to see that just working in these few months with him.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is basically taking you through like a pretty solid body recomp, right? So where we're kind
Right.
of staying around the same weight. And it's the same thing. I mean, if you're listening to this, whoever, and you go look at like my pinned Instagram photo of me lifting over 17 years, I was actually basically the same weight the entire time. You're like, what? No, like literally. And that's a body recomp, and we're training fat for muscle and we're getting muscle maturity and all that stuff. And so I'm glad to hear that he's kept you within the zone.
Yeah,
What
it's crazy.
performance increases have you seen? I know the posture, but obviously a big thing for us is like, hey, you want to look good? We all do, like hands down. But I know, you're in law enforcement and, performance at some aspect is important. Have you seen any performance increases since?
Yeah, so every workout that I do, so I think he programs me on like 3 week cycles, I believe. And
Yeah.
every time I do the workouts that are prescribed, I hit a PR, right? So I'm either adding reps or adding a little bit of weight each week, which is super exciting because when you see that at the end of your workout, you know that you're getting stronger by just seeing those little changes. Interestingly enough, today was my first run programmed from Mike. I have not run. I was an avid runner and I stopped doing that in September. Um, I've always been prone to running injuries, part of my posture. I had a broken ankle a couple of years ago, and then I started running again. And I stopped doing that in September to give my body a break. And Mike programmed, I know it's so silly, my first run today of 2 miles. and I did not have to stop at all. My pace was faster than my pace was back in September running frequently. And I have never felt more strong and stable in a running position in my life. So I immediately sent him a message and was like,
Yeah.
this is the best day ever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know that's kind of weird too, and I wish I had the knowledge that I have now and that Mike has back when I was a PTL in the military, helping people for their run. Like I only knew what I knew, however, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, and I knew about like anatomy and exercise science, but not to the level I do now, obviously. And yeah, you actually don't have, I mean, you have to run to be good at running to a certain extent, right? But I'm sure
Right.
Mike has kind of coached you up on like, actually, it's a, your posterior chain muscles, it's these other kinetic chain, it's all connected. And again, like if you're getting running injuries and running hurts, then you can't run. And then the
Mm-hmm.
the theory would be, well, I'm going to get really bad at running and my cardio is going to get worse.
Sure.
I mean, not necessarily, right? And you've kind of experienced that. And so, yeah, we try to take a very multifaceted approach, however we can, right? Like whatever your goals are, obviously body recomping, staying within a weight with your dress, toning up, correcting your posture, like we obviously have the knowledge and can do that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that said, this isn't the first online coach you've worked with either. Like when I chatted with you back in January when you joined, you were you worked with another online coach, and from what you were saying, sorry, I got a hair in my you're saying it was pretty good, but not to the level. Can you kind of touch on just the differences? Like maybe just give us a little context of what that was versus this?
Sure. That was primarily done over the phone. And there was a focus on my nutrition and very basic workouts that my coach would just send me an email. And I would do those. I'd rotate like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then some form of cardio on the weekends. It was great. It helped refocus me a little bit. I think I was overdoing it and looking for gains, but I wasn't. I was just kind of willy nilly doing stuff on my own. So it was really good helping me refocus. And then that ended in December. And when I joined PHP in January, it was like night and day, right? So the level of involvement from you guys, from the coaches, the app, the customized workouts, the nutrition, all of that was much more high level than what I was dealing with before. It was still good, but it just was not as detailed. I think the other piece too is, at least for me with Coach Mike, the accountability is unmatched. There is no excuses. He will work with you, if you need to modify something, but there's always a modification, right? So it's just having that level of involvement. And then the app is unreal.
Yeah.
That's been great.
No, it's good feedback. Because and we were kind of chatting about this too. Most of our clients never do online coaching, like
Mm-hmm.
huge vast majority of us. It's a kind of a newer thing. Like it's 2020, 2021 when it really obviously blew up after COVID. And some coaches still do it the old way, like pre-2020, which is I'm going to email you, I'm going to call you. And so a lot of people think that that's what online coaching is. And I'm like, no, it's through an app. And then be like, oh, an app, like, oh, really not apps. I'm not technology, especially this community, right? We get like the old 50-year-old
Sure.
firefighters or cops are like, I'm not techie. But then they're in the program and they're like, oh, this is actually super easy to use. And I think it is. I've used so many fitness training apps. It's pretty buttery. It's not too many like things. It's just pretty straightforward. Here's what you're doing today. Here's your workouts. Here's what you're supposed to eat. And it's simplified, right? But at the same time, it can be pretty intuitive, right? We can track your sleep and your steps and your habit and all those things. And the big thing for this community, more than anything else, I think, is the customization and accountability, right? Like you're working out at a home gym this entire time, right? It's not, you don't have every piece of equipment under the sun. So you literally had to take a video. Here's my setup. Here's what days I'm working out. Here's what times. And then the accountability is a big piece, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean hand holding, but it does mean like if we got to be on your ass, then we're going to be on your ass, right?
Yeah.
Because we know that people are coming to us with a very busy schedule with a lot of
Yep.
moving parts. And if I remember our conversation 5 months ago, you're like, I just don't want to have to think about it,
Yep.
right?
That's
Like
exactly right. That's exactly
I
right.
want to just be able to like sit there and just what do I do, coach? And
Yep.
honestly, we work with a community that has so many things going on, whether it's weddings coming up, vacation, like we're all busy, busy life, and you put in 12 plus hour shifts and all these things. It is easier to just have it done. At the
Yeah.
same time, that doesn't mean that we want to just bark orders at you and have you execute, because obviously you can do that very well. But we want an education component in there too, because I really, really, really want to try to fulfill on the promise of, hey, I don't want to work with you forever. I do want to get you self-sufficient. How's that been? I mean, do you feel like you've learned more since starting the program to where you're a little more self-sufficient?
Yeah, totally. And it's interesting because you think that you're self sufficient until you start working with you guys and you're like, I really wasn't that self sufficient. It wasn't that great.
Yeah.
My workouts were all over the place. There was no rhyme or reason. If I didn't have something or if I was traveling, I'd be like, all right, well, I'll just go for a run instead. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Costa Rica and Mike programmed me an entire week with bands and find something and make it heavy and we'll do this. Right. So that's been a big piece is to see that, to see how just involved it is. And you think you know what you're doing until you're working with you guys and you're like, all right, this
Yeah,
is
and
better.
yeah, I try to explain that a little bit to this community too, because most people they have some workout background, anywhere from like a little bit to actually a pretty decent amount, maybe 5, 8, 10 years. And they come in and they're like, oh yeah, I know I've been working out my whole life. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I know that, but this is different. And so I'm glad you know you've had that prospect too, or perspective. And it was the same thing for me before, guys. I've had online coaches and I was a personal trainer. And in my head, I'm like, I know what I'm doing. And I did it. Like I did program, but truthfully, I wasn't having a built-in rest timer. So like, was I resting a minute or was I resting 4 minutes? Right. I wasn't whole. So I was like, man, the workout's taking a long time. Like you got on my phone, or I'm like, oh, I
Right.
have back and buys today. That's okay. But there's like way more layers deep to that. Right. So like I follow structure. Well, you follow some structure. But
Right.
the thing too is if you've been working out for a longer period of time, the sum structure stops working. Your body
Yeah.
plateaus, right? And you're probably kind of experiencing that too, where yeah, back and buys, the sets, that's great. But like, where's the progressive overload? Like you said, you're hitting PRs every week. We're actually like phasing out 3 week things. Nobody's doing that in a gym. I go to a public gym. Nobody's doing that. It's all here. Nobody's writing it down. Most people, they're not tracking on an app. And like, obviously, following some structures better than others, but especially if you have 5 plus years of training, if you want your body to keep making progress, you have to dial things in. And even for me, I've been lifting for 17 years. Every single time I'm like, oh, I'll just kind of like do it. Like I know I'm a coach, I know everything. And I don't actually track it. I get a little lazy and I don't hit my protein. And like you get worse results, period. Right. And so the accountability is also just tracking data, right? It's like balancing a checkbook very strictly, being like, yeah, I'm watching my spending. Big difference,
Yeah.
right? So it's an accountability thing, and I think sometimes people like to sit there and be like, "Oh, I'm good." I'm like, to avoid holding themselves accountable, me included, by the way, where I'm
Sure.
human. But it's one of those things where when you get it, you're like, "Oh, dang, like I'm dialed in now," and that's where we want to get you, because that's where the self-sufficiency happens. It's like, okay, at the end of the year when you go on your own, if you do, that's your new bar, right? Like
Right.
I know what it feels like to, track my workouts and be on my nutrition and like follow a program and make adjustments, not just I'll go on a run,
Yeah.
right? So I'm glad you've had an experience. What about just the working with Pursuit, like communication, customer service, because that's actually one of the biggest, I think, hesitancies, right? Like with online, right? And I'd say
Yeah.
this, ask in every interview, because most people are like, oh, online sketchy. Are these good people? Will my coach communicate with me? Like, is
Right.
this going to be shady? What has your experience been so far?
Well, it's definitely not shady at all. From the moment I reached out to you, it was like it just happened, right? Meeting with you, talked with you on the phone, met with you in person, immediately get assigned a coach, met with Mike, talked with him, starts programming me out. The school app where the community can talk with each other. It's just been unbelievable in terms of the level of customer service. Every time I've sent Mike a message, I get a response same day, if not within a couple of hours. Whether it's I need, hey, I have good news, I just went on this run,
Yeah.
or I'd like to tweak my macros a little bit. I'm not feeling so great here. He is on it. Communication with you. I mean, you checked in with me a couple weeks in. How are things going? I can directly message you anytime. You can't do that with virtually anyone. Nobody's going to be that available that
Yeah.
I've experienced. And I've been working out since I was 23 years old. So
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for the feedback. And that's important for us, right? Like we're not a huge company. I mean, we have several hundred clients, but I want the person to be like, feel like Mike's your only person, right? Like
right.
attentive, quick to
Yeah.
communicate. That's how it should be. And I tell people all the time, like, I'll get on a call if I need to with you. You know what I mean? Like your coach has your back. They're more than fully capable. But yeah, we have people that reach out and it's not this like loop thing. I'm like, let's set up a call, let's talk through it. And we want to make sure that it's a good experience. So I'm glad that's been a really good thing for you. I guess my last question, and I ask everybody this is, what would you say to somebody that's kind of in, I guess, was in your position 5 months ago? Like if you could take you, another person, and they were in the same boat, obviously most people are wondering, I mean, I don't really know actually, but usually it's like the things I said, is this a good investment? Am I going to get results here? All those things. And you've seen, side note, you've seen the school community that it's not just
Yeah.
you,
Right.
right? It's
Right.
members. We post the wins every Wednesday.
Awesome.
But what would you say to somebody that is kind of maybe on the fence, has hesitations, is afraid?
Yeah, I immediately just do it. I don't think there's any regrets. I think, for full transparency, my first month, I was like, oh, did I make the right decision? Is this going to work for me? And this transformation over the last 5 months has been unbelievable. So I would say to that person, it is worth every cent. You will see results. Trust the process, trust your coach. They know what they're doing. If they tell you to do something, there's a reason for that. Like I told you right before we started recording, Mike has programmed me things. I'm like, why am I doing that? 3 months later, my posture is better. I feel more stable when I'm walking, running, whatnot. Um, the other thing too, and I was going to say this at the end, but I think this is a good place to
Yeah.
put this in.
Yeah.
So I did CrossFit for 10 years, just about between the ages of 27 and about 37, 38. And then I started working out on my own. Um, CrossFit was great. I loved the community, but then it was like too much community. And with my schedule, it was really hard to go to the
Yeah.
classes and I just wasn't feeling it. I turned 40 in October. I have never felt better in my life. And I was doing CrossFit 3 days a week, running 2 days a week, and I did this for over 10 years. My body today looks better than it did in my early 30s, and I feel better. And this is 5 months. And I'm not trying to like sell the program. This is just factual, right?
Yeah.
It's been 5 months, and I feel and look better now than I did 10 years ago doing all of that other stuff.
No, I'm glad
So
you brought no, I'm glad you brought that up. And I'll give you some context to whoever's listening. Look, I have nothing against CrossFit, and I think, Mike maybe more than me, but I think there's good and bad things 100%, right? Like there's the intensity, the community, the some of the lifts, but honestly, like it is a very physically demanding on your body sport. And you hear what I said? Sport. It's a
right,
sport. It's like
right.
somebody saying, I want to get in great shape, so I did jujitsu for 10 years. You can. Absolutely. Is that the most efficient way? I would argue not. And so
Right,
a lot of people, and because the community we work with, fire and law enforcement and military always go to CrossFit, right? Because they're
right.
like, intense, go. And like, but what we see is, like you said, the scheduling becomes hard. Most of them are not doing nutrition, not at the level we do, even close. So like you're working out hard, you're not really eating right, you're recovering your body, you're beating the crap out of it. So it's beat up,
Yeah,
it's constantly inflamed. The progressive overload, it's like, oh, I missed a day. And then they're like, well, just do the WOD next time.
right,
There's good things, but again, what I see with 30 to 50-year-olds that do CrossFit when they come to our program is they're actually working with science, not against it, in the sense of like, hey, we're breaking down the muscle tissue to recover it. We're eating the right nutrition.
yeah,
We're balancing the stress so you can recover. And we don't want to like beat your body up every day. Like there's a time and place for just soul crushing workouts, but not every single day. And so for me, CrossFit was bad because I'm way too competitive. Like
yeah,
every time I went in, and if you look at just like the stress and cortisol level and injuries, it's not worth it. And you're not the only one to say, I did CrossFit for 3, 4, 5+ years, and 6 months into this program, my body doesn't feel beat up. I actually
right.
look better. Yeah, because we're
Mhm.
not doing all athletic performance training. There's some aesthetic things
Right.
in there. And that's what our
Yep.
program does. Hey, we're going to help you burn fat, build some lean muscle, and increase your performance at the same time. Can you do that with CrossFit? Sure, but I think a lot of the community, a lot of the first responder community looks at like CrossFit athletes, like gains, and they're like, I want to look like a
Yeah.
Greek god. I'm like, yeah, no, they're specimens. Do you know how many hours they train per day?
Right. They're all day long.
Four hours a day. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is your life like? It's hard for you to get a 30-minute workout in, right? So, we also need to figure out like if you had all the time in the world, like, you do you, but we have
Right.
to get efficiency. Like how many days a week are you working out?
Right now I'm working out 5.
Right. And how long are your workouts, you think?
Wednesdays is like my Metcon day. That's my shortest day. So that's anywhere from like 15 to 20 minutes. And then my workouts Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, usually taking about 45 minutes or so.
Yeah, that's super doable.
It's
Like
so
even for me
easy.
right now, obviously I gotta keep my physique as the face of the company. I work out for like an hour and 10 minutes, 5 days a week. I might get a 6 day, but I'm not in
Yeah.
the gym. Like I'm not, and keeping what I'd say is a pretty good physique. I'm not in the gym doing an hour of cardio and then 2 hours of lifting. Like
Right.
some Instagram influencers, nothing against them, but I run an actual business and have kids and a family, and and I want to try to emulate. Hey, you can do this being busy, right?
Right.
Like if you're like, I want to go to the gym 2 days a week, that's not great. Nobody's probably gonna be able to save you. But if you're like, hey, I will go 3 to 5, 4 to 5 days a week. Most of our clients are like 4 days a week. You can get good results. I mean, you're obviously proof. 45-minute workouts. A fifth day is like a short get to the point.
Yep.
So yeah, well, I'm glad you had a good experience and I appreciate you jumping on. Obviously, hats off to you. You're putting in the work, you're doing it. It's not magical fairy dust. Like you're grinding, you're entering your stuff, you're communicating with your coach. So you're an awesome client. Mike has great things to say about you. And the proof's in the pudding for you, right? Like
Yep.
you
Absolutely.
put in the work, you follow it, you trust your coach. And I tell people, I'm like, we don't stay in business by getting people shitty results. Like that's not
That's
how
right.
we do it. We have to
That's
get
right.
people results. So like it would be really non-beneficial for us to tell you things to do that aren't right. So it's
Right.
like, trust us. Like we'll go
Yeah.
out of business if we tell you to do the wrong thing. So yeah,
Right.
some of it's different and it's good, right? Because those different things are things that if you have experience that like you need a different approach. And
Mhm.
the different approach has worked really well for you 5 months in. So
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Me
Any
too.
any any last feedback?
No, just that I couldn't be happier. I am so happy that I stumbled upon this and I knew somebody, that was in the program that's local here. And I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, thank you for putting in the work, and I'm excited to see where you take it the rest of the year, and you'll just be an
Yeah, me too.
animal by the end of it. So I'm excited.
I'm
Um,
excited.
cool. Well, I appreciate you jumping on and your feedback, Lauren. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.